For our first-time Olympic hockey viewers, this one's for you. We're breaking down the biggest differences between NHL and Olympic hockey, what it means for players, and how they change the game. Let's start with the rink size. NHL rinks are 200 by 85 feet, traditional Olympic rinks are 197 by 98 feet, and Santa Giulia Arena in Milan is 196.85 by 85.3 feet. Why the difference this time? The Olympics have used NHL-sized ice before in Vancouver, Pyeongchang, and in Beijing, and was supposed to do so again this time. The IIHF approved the slight difference, though, calling it consistent with the rinks in Beijing and with the dimensions the NHL requires in Global Series games, such as the one played between the Penguins and Predators in Stockholm earlier this year. Why does it matter? The neutral zone will be slightly smaller, and space will be at even more of a premium than usual. In the Four Nations tournament, we saw how tight checking the games were. It's also a huge difference from traditional Olympic-sized rinks, which are much wider and therefore give significantly more room to players. Well, every player that I've talked to has said that they really don't mind that the neutral zone is going to be smaller. The dimensions of the ice aren't making that much of a big deal amongst the players.
Yeah, same for me here. To me, it's more just a story of the sort of weirdness and incompetence that's gone on with the rink than it is about anything that'll actually affect the game itself.
If anything, less space, less time and space to do anything with the puck. It's going to be a lot of defense out there.
Yeah, I think we're going to see, low scoring, tight checking games where, like you said, space is going to be at a premium, and that would have been the case even with a 200 by 85 foot rink. Physicality and checking. In the NHL, heavy hitting is part of the culture. Big open ice hits are celebrated. In the Olympics, officials are much stricter. Players are more likely to get called on boarding, charging, dangerous hits, late contact, and players who thrive on intimidating and big hits in the NHL will have to dial it back in the Olympics. Fighting is also not allowed in the Olympics, so unfortunately we won't see a repeat of the spectacle at Four Nations.
What is Tom Wilson going to do?
I don't know. It's going to be tough, and I think everyone's just a little bit bummed that, 3 fights in 9 seconds was such a special thing, and, whatever happens in Milan, we know it's not going to be that.
I'm very curious to see how the players are going to get used to not being able to drop the gloves when they were allowed to at the NHL level.
Yep, and some of the guys I've talked to, even guys who aren't going to the Olympics but have played at World Juniors or IIHF championships, have kind of said, watch how tight these games get called, because it's a different thing when you have IIHF referees.
Penalties and officiating. Penalty standards are another huge difference between the two brands of hockey. In the NHL, refs tend to manage the game. They'll often let minor infractions go, especially in the playoffs, and pull a lot of makeup calls as well. In the Olympics, refs will call more stick fouls, penalize holding and hooking more, enforce interference more strictly, and this will lead to more power plays and faster pace and awareness. Players who rely on physical defense have to adjust quickly or sit in the box. The referees in the Olympics are partially drawn from the NHL and partially from the IIHF, so it will be interesting to see how that affects the way games are officiated. Here are some other Olympic differences: stricter whistle timing and fewer commercial breaks, slight differences in icing and offside interpretations, minor variations in face-off procedures and equipment rules compared to the NHL.
Overtime and shootout. In the Olympics, the overtime scenarios change depending on where we are in the tournament. In the preliminary rounds, it's a 5-minute 3-on-3 overtime followed by a 5-player shootout. In the quarterfinals, semifinals, and the bronze medal game, it's a 10-minute 3-on-3 followed by a shootout. And then in the gold medal game, it's continuous 20-minute 3-on-3 overtime periods. This is much different from the NHL, where during the regular season, ties go to a shorter 5-minute overtime and 3-player shootout if needed. The Stanley Cup playoffs use endless 5-on-5 overtime until a goal is scored.
Rosters, lineups, and ice time management. Olympic rosters are larger than NHL rosters, with teams able to carry 25 instead of 23. Game rosters, though, are the same as in the NHL, 20 in total with 18 skaters and 2 goalies. The larger roster does allow for more depth and perhaps for some rotation, especially early in the tournament as teams try to work through their best lineup combinations. As the tournament gets deeper, coaches will start to rely more heavily on their star players, just as you would see in the NHL playoffs. There have already been some injury replacements. Jackson Lacombe for Seth Jones, Sam Bennett for Anthony Cirelli, Jonas Carpasalo for Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, and there is a procedure in place for injury replacements to come to Milan if and when players get hurt in Italy. So that's a brief overview on the differences between NHL and Olympic hockey.
Stay tuned for more Olympics coverage, as Molly and I will have you covered all throughout the Winter Games.
For more, head over to the New York Post Sports YouTube page and read our coverage at newyorkpost.com/sports.